This is episode number 39 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast with our special guest, Jordanna Newberger. Welcome to the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. My name is Jeff Thornton, alongside my co-host, Michael Anders. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message related to our three pillars of success: manifestation, business, fitness, and nutrition. Our intent is to enrich, educate, and empower our audience to take action, control, and accountability for their decisions. Thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey. Now let's get started. We would like to thank our sponsor, FitAid. If you're serious about your performance and recovery, go with FitAid. FitAid is the perfect pre- and post-workout supplement product. If you're dragging pre-workout, FitAid contains natural ingredients to give you that boost and pick-me-up you need without the jittery effect. And if you're looking for recovery after your workout, FitAid has branched-chain amino acids or BCAAs, L-glutamine, L-arginine, vitamin C and D3, glucosamine, turmeric, CoQ10, and raw organic agave to accommodate the glycogen window and provide your body with a complete and clean recovery. Be sure to give them a try at lifeaidbevco.com, your local gym, or a grocery store near you.
Hey, what's going on, crew? This is episode 39 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. Mike Anders here with my co-host, Jeff Thornton.
What up?
And today we have the honor of chatting with perfusionist extraordinaire, Jordanna Newberger. What's up? How are you?
What up?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of... You got an incredible backstory that led to, bringing you to PHX, and then subsequently all the progress that you've made since you've been here. And there's a lot of that I want to touch on today. Namely, we were talking earlier this week or late last week. I can't really remember. We were hanging out right there at the front of the gym, and you showed me that picture of your freshman year of college.
Oh, man.
And you have made quite the transformation, mentally, spiritually, above and beyond the physical transformation, since you've made that conscious decision to change things in your life. And I'm super interested in what we want to get to the bottom of, or what some of the catalysts were to stimulate that change, and what were some of the things that were that you implemented to your life to keep you moving in that positive direction. Because I know we've had numerous discussions about the lingering forethought with regards to your relationship with food and how you perceive eating and making healthier choices with caloric intake on top of regular exercise and whatnot. But those are all very major macro moves that are the product of a lot of little decisions along the way.
Right.
So for everybody who doesn't know who you are, real quick, who are you? Where are you from? How'd you find your way to PHX? And where does your journey begin with fitness and everything?
Real quick, huh?
Yeah. You can
All
give us the long version. It's
Yeah,
cool. We got some time.
All right. So I'm Jordanna. I'm born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. My fitness and weight loss journey and relationship with food goes way back to when I was a kid. I was that typical, and I can say this now, back then I could never say this, or, bring on tears, or, just emotional, just distress. But I was that typical fat kid. I wasn't raised making healthy choices, food. We ate out a lot. We ate a lot of fast food. So I got up in the weight fairly quickly, and that played a huge role in who I was as a person. And I guess I let it affect who I was as a person. It wasn't a choice at the time. I didn't really think it was, but I did. I let it affect me, and I had low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself, no confidence, and it manifested into everything in my life. I felt like I had to be perfect in every other aspect because I was overweight. I was afraid to eat in front of people. I was afraid to, have a burger because I was afraid of what the outside people were thinking. Like, should she be eating that? Should she be, doing that? She should be at the gym. And that's literally what I thought every single day. my entire life. And I remember going to college, and my high school was probably at my biggest weight, and I can't even tell you how much I weighed at that time, but it was big. I remember going to college and being on campus and living in a co-ed dorm, which was really stressful, being with a bunch of 18-year-olds that are skinny, in shape, play sports, and that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to, and I was ashamed to even attempt to work out or go to the gym and whatnot. But I made some pretty good friends in college, and looking back now, they invited me to go to the gym with them all the time, but I just couldn't mentally bring myself to do it. I just was too ashamed of where I was, and I didn't think I could go to the gym and work out and be okay. And now I realize that was in my head, and it wasn't what my friends or the people that cared about me were thinking about at all. It was just something they enjoyed, and they're like, hey, you want to come, come enjoy this with us. So I went through college, and, I actually lost weight in college because I wasn't eating out as much. I was walking around campus. I didn't have a car, so it was kind of everything. So I can't even tell you what I was at my biggest in high school. But, to give some of the girls out there that understand sizes, girl sizes go up by 2. So you go from 0, 2, 4, 6, all the way up. Starting in college, I was at 22, 24.
Okay.
Currently, after college, I should say, finishing college, I was size 18, size 16. Currently, I bounce between a size 6 to a size 10.
Nice.
So it's a huge difference, and so that can kind of give you the weight where I was weight-wise. I was big. I had going shopping with friends was out of the question because I had anxiety about saying, I can't fit into that store. I can't go to that store. I had to go to the plus-size store, which was devastating as a teenager.
Right.
Growing up. So I slowly started to lose weight, as I said, through college, of just not eating out like my family always did and walking around campus. And it wasn't until I moved to New York for grad school after college that I lived with 2 girls, both in medical school, but they went to the gym every night. And I was like, all right, I'll start slow. So I started going to the gym with them. And I did, the typical elliptical treadmill running, a minute on, sometimes 30 seconds on, and, just kind of starting slow. And at the gym that I went to, they had 8-circuit equipment that you hit kind of every muscle group, legs, biceps, everything. And I did that 3 times, went around 3 times. And that's kind of how I started. It was a slow process, but I slowly started to lose weight, and then started working in 2008, and started for the wrong reasons, but my friend got engaged, and she's like, hey, you're going to be a bridesmaid in my wedding in a year. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be the big girl standing up there. So I got a personal trainer, and I started working out, and I lost well over 50 pounds with him. He made me weigh myself, of course. I started at 193, and by the time the wedding was a year later, I was 150-ish, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So that's kind of where it started, but it's kind of progressed from there as far as my relationship with food and working out. As most of you guys know that are in the gym with me, I'll go to the gym every single day, and I'll work out. I love it. You feed off of it. My problem has always been the emotional part of eating and finding that good relationship with food and knowing what I can and cannot have. I went through a long time where I didn't eat in front of people. I would skip meals. Carbs were the devil. Stopped eating those for a real long time. The most carbs I would get would be maybe once going to dinner with a friend or whatever, and the bread, or I would never order pasta, which I grew up on pasta. It was my favorite meal growing up. My parents literally had just platefuls for me. I ate it. I avoided all of that. And it would go back and forth, I think that right now my main concern is mentally getting a better relationship with food. So I lost all the weight, it got to 150, and then I kind of plateaued there. Started training with another trainer, fell all the way down to the 140s, and then had a major, not major, but I tore the cartilage in my ankle and found out I needed surgery. And I'll tell you what, that was the worst day of my life at the time. Not because I needed surgery, but I literally sat in the doctor's office thinking to myself, I'm not going to be able to work out. I'm going to gain all this weight back. And as crazy as that is, that's what I put myself through all the time. And I was like, well, how am I going to do this? I, no joke, cried for 24 hours. I could not get myself together to stop crying because I just thought that I was going to put it all back and then I was going to go back to where I was. So after that, I pulled myself together, had the surgery, And I'll tell you, like, the first few days were rough. I did gain weight and, got on the scale, whatever. But I had a good friend who was also my trainer at the time pull me out of it. And I went to the gym every day and did upper body, did the rope machine. I don't know if you guys know. That machine is awful, but I learned to love it. I would spend 20 minutes a day on that thing, did core. But the thing that I found with that 10 weeks that I couldn't walk, I really honed in on my diet. And I probably was overly strict, but I was so scared to go back to where I was that I literally didn't cheat. I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And my cheat was a scoopful of peanut butter, because I love peanut butter, eating it from the bottle or the jar. And that was really what I did. And I ended up losing 8 pounds and got into the 130s, which I've never been in my entire life. And I actually felt good, So once that was done, and then I started walking again, I'm like, oh, I can eat again. Bad idea. Gained it back, and then probably within the next year, my sister had a baby that same summer that I had surgery, and within the next year, she moved back to Arizona from the Northwest, and I decided that I wanted to be back with my family, see my nephew grow up, and my sister and I are very close. She's one of my best friends, probably my biggest support system. So within the next year, I interviewed for a couple jobs, got offered a job, moved back to Phoenix, and started PHX because I've kind of always wanted to do CrossFit, seeing some of my friends do it. And I was like I said, I was with a trainer and I loved her and she was great, and I wasn't dissatisfied with her and I was having results, so I didn't want to leave, But moving back to Arizona was kind of an opportunity with a different cut in salary and just expenses, not being able to afford a trainer and a gym. That's just a priority in my life. So I thought, well, let me give CrossFit a chance and see what happens. And honestly, landing at PHX was a credit to you, Michael, because I emailed 4 or 5 gyms and you were the most responsive and just the most welcoming, and you were the first one I dropped in at, and I had planned to go to different gyms, but after that I was like, no, I'm done. I got it. It's a very welcoming environment, and so a year and a half later, I'm still here.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And we're happy to have you, and we're super proud of all the progress that you've made. As one of your coaches, just watching your physical progress, above and beyond what you've done with your body composition, to me, that's a better metric to find satisfaction in. Because when you focus on those performance parameters, just being better than you were yesterday, last week, last year, is a lot more telling about how much progress you've actually made versus what the scale would tell you.
Right.
So just being able to see all that, see the gold stars. I mean, shit, you PR'd yesterday. That's
what I'm talking about, girl.
By 38 seconds.
Yeah. So that those are the kind of things that's real time feedback.
Right. Definitely.
To keep you motivated and keep you in the game. So watching you embrace that journey, as much as it sucks at times and as difficult and challenging as it can be consistent, that speaks volumes to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's difficult. When I first started here, I'll tell you, I hated it. I literally was sore every day, and I wasn't coming as much as I am now, but I was sore every day. My joints hurt, and I thought to myself, there's no way that I can keep doing this if this is how I feel every day. And it was hard, coming into the gym and seeing guys like you two, the girls in the gym, and I'm like, wow. It was intimidating. It was super intimidating, but the environment at PHX is just so unique in the sense that it doesn't matter if you're at the top of the leaderboard or you're the bottom. Everyone is supportive anywhere you are, and they guide you along, And I think that's huge here.
Well, it's interesting.
CrossFit.
It's interesting that you say that, because that dynamic of support and admiration is so reciprocal here. I know that you look up to Nicole, and what she's able to do in the gym with her numbers and her physique post baby and all that kind of good stuff. But I have to tell you that she admires everything that you do just the same, and that's something that you don't often experience.
Right.
anywhere really, let alone in the gym environment, you
Yeah.
know, when everybody, coming from bodybuilding and stuff like that, where everybody's frenemies and, oh yeah, you look good. Oh, but his biceps are small, like stuff like.
There's always a passive aggressive comment
and,
somewhere.
That really doesn't exist in this environment. So,
Right.
Once you embrace the fact that day in and day out, it's your workout, above and beyond what anybody next to you or has done in previous classes, it just makes it such a much more enjoyable experience.
Definitely.
But something that sticks out to me about your story is the support systems that you've had along the way, the major players in your life, from trainers to family to friends. What was the difference in your mindset when your friends were inviting you to the gym in college versus when you got asked to be the maid of honor in that wedding? Like, what was different about those circumstances?
Well, I think in college, everyone is young and most kids are very active as children. My parents didn't really support. They didn't not support it, but they didn't encourage it. I was active in like intramural sports, but never competitive. They didn't push us enough to do that. And so going into a college situation where I had 2 hockey players on our floor. We had, one that was an ROTC, just a range of people that were very active, working out all the time. That my friends worked out 2-3 hours a day. And that's intimidating, for someone that has never stepped into a gym, who has never been on a treadmill, who probably couldn't even run for a minute at the time. It's intimidating, and it's, I don't want to say that it's shame, but it was. I was ashamed. How did I let myself get to that? And I was 17 years old. So when they would invite me, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I didn't have the confidence to do it. I let my weight affect everything. I let it affect my confidence, my self-esteem, my ability to do public speaking, to go out with friends, just because I was always afraid that people were judging me and looking at me saying, how did she get so big? Why is she like this? She shouldn't be eating this or this and that. And so it created a lot of anxiety. And the thought of going to the gym with these guys that are in great shape was just too much. I just couldn't do it. And then fast forward to moving to New York and working out with my roommates, it wasn't because they didn't know me. They didn't know my past. It was kind of like a new situation, a new setting. And I was like, well, I can either say no or I can go and do my own thing. And then fast forward a couple more years when my girlfriend, who I'd known since high school, so she's known me from the beginning, asked me to be in her wedding. I was like, I do want to do this, but I don't want to be uncomfortable walking down the aisle and having anxiety about what I'm going to eat at her wedding, if I'm going to enjoy myself, or I'm going to stress that I'm the big girl in the group, So it wasn't necessarily for the right reasons, but it helped. It kind of leaped me forward to get where I want to be. Mm-hmm. So I started, at that point, I had a friend from work who knew the trainer that I started working out with. His wife had worked with him, and he's like, I'll go with you. And this is a guy at work that also Army, ROTC, and he's like, I haven't worked out in a while. Still great shape. 6'5", big black guy, muscles everywhere. But he was like, I don't really work out anymore. I need to get back into it. And he's like, we'll do it together. And I don't know what made me do it, but I was kind of like, all right, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And the trainer, his name's Tim. I owe him the world. He was just amazing, and he gave me a deal because I was fresh out of school, had no money. I trained with him and my colleague David for probably a year on a double session, and he charged me $40 a session. Mm-hmm. So it was nothing. But I remember walking in there and him having me do step-ups, and those were hard. Yeah. And just being embarrassed but I had to start somewhere. Yeah. And that's where it was.
And then what's interesting is like on your journey to where you were at your heaviest and when you were at your lightest weight, did you find mentally that you were like, you were ashamed when you had eating problems when you were heavier, but when you lost the weight, did you find yourself with those same problems of like, now I'm the girl that people look at like she's thin, she shouldn't be eating these donuts or like whatever that type of food is that still there with you?
It's 100% still there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, unless you've been overweight or obese or had a weight issue, I don't think that you understand the magnitude that all the mental stuff goes into it. That doesn't go away. Yeah, I can lose 50 pounds in a year, or, you know, whatever it is, but the mental stuff is with you forever.
Right.
You know, that's something that you have to work on long term. And I think that in the beginning, you know, being young and in my 20s, I didn't focus on that. I was like, I just want results and I want to lose weight. I want to be skinny. And even now, looking, like I was talking when Michael and I were talking before, I don't look in the mirror and say I'm skinny. I don't look in the mirror and say, oh, I've come a long way. I look in the mirror and I'm like, well, I need to lose my spare tire in my stomach. I have like bat arms or whatever it is. Like the things that I focus on are not what other people see.
Right.
And that's all mental. And it's taken a long time to even approach that subject, you know? And I think that I go back and forth with it, and I got to a certain point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. Moved back to Arizona, and I put on probably 20 pounds just going out with friends and starting CrossFit and being frustrated that I wasn't seeing results right away. And so I eat when I'm emotional, I'm stressed, anything. I just eat. I'm like, well, it's not working anyway. I'm just going to go all in. And it took me going to Michael and saying, I need help, because the mental part of it is so much more. You know, like I said before, I'll be in the gym every day, but figuring out my relationship with food and accepting who I am and where I am, I don't think that's going to change overnight, you know? And so I went to Michael and I was like, I need help. I need someone to talk to me about nutrition, to talk to me about, you know, food control, portion control, macros, anything, so that I can get over that. And he suggested WAG, working against gravity, which of course at the time there's a wait list, so I couldn't get into it right away. But I talked to Caleb, and he kind of gave me like a macro plan to start at least. And so I started slowly doing the macros, but I have to say I started WAG in October, and I just see a vast change in my mentality.
Nice.
You know, and trying to get over focusing on that number on the scale and more focus on how my clothes fit, what I'm doing in the gym, my PR. Since I started WAG and eating carbs again, because I can't remember when I ate carbs before this on a regular basis, I'm PRing everything.
Wow.
You know, and I feel good in the gym. I'm not tired. I'm not exhausted. I'm actually have more energy, and I work out every day. You know, I rarely take a rest day.
And what exactly is WAG, for those that don't know? Because I don't even know what WAG is.
Okay, so it's working against gravity. So it's a group of basically, I don't know, they're not all trainers, right? Yeah, it's just coaches and people that sign up, and they get assigned a coach, and the coach figures out your macros based off of you. It's strictly to you. They get your height, your weight, you send them pictures, your activity level, what your goals are, what you're focusing on, and kind of give them a background. And these coaches basically figure out a macros for you, your protein, fat, and carbs, and you have to hit it every day, and you have to weigh yourself, you have to measure yourself. But beyond that, they help a lot with the mental part of it. You know, when you're having a bad day, what do you do? Do you eat? Do you go to the gym? What is your reactions? And I think that is the biggest part for me, you know, and figuring out my macros, counting them. It's good and bad. I love and hate it. I love it that I feel like I know what I can and cannot eat, and I have some control over that, and I can allow myself to have a cookie if I want a cookie, you know, and that's always been huge for me in the past, because I would go cold turkey, not having chocolate, not having dessert, not having sweets, and then I would do really well for a few months and then binge because I haven't had it. And with WAG, I'm learning not to do that. I'm learning to accept failures and learning from them and moving on, and not dwelling on them and killing myself for the next 3 days in the gym because I had a cookie or 3 cookies. You know, so I think that's the biggest part of it. And learning to retrain your brain to look at things differently.
Right.
You know, instead of, you know, I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, I'm not that, you look at the positive side of it.
Right. That's really interesting, because the reason I asked that too is because I'm coming from the male perspective of things, where I got up in weight to about 260 pounds my freshman year in college. And then I was at a point to where I was playing ball. I was in shape in high school, but I blew my knee out. Then I just ate the way I did when I was athletic, or when I was actually moving around. Got up weight, and then you go to school, you're like, this is the fat guy in school, or whatever. But it didn't affect me like mentally. Like, I didn't have food disorders or anything like that. I just ate a lot. But then when I lost the weight, I dropped to 180 pounds. And for me, that was the hard part, was how I think that's not eating disorder, but that's when the eating problems came in. Like, if I eat this stuff, I'm going to get back to being that big dude again.
Right.
And the mental, I know what you're talking about. Just like telling yourself mentally to get over that hump of, okay, I can't eat the pastas or this and this because it's going to negatively affect me.
Right.
That's the hard part.
100%.
And like you said, you look in the mirror. I was 6-pack. I was a ripped guy. But every day I looked in the mirror, it was always nitpicking. Like, dude, okay, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough.
Yeah.
But you have to learn. You have to condition yourself. And it came to a process where you, like you said, you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm thankful for what I've achieved, even if it's not where you want to be.
Right.
And that helps get you over the hump little by little, but it's an everyday process.
It's an everyday process. And even, we were talking about social interactions, getting invited to go to dinner or happy hour or, New Year's celebrations or whatever it was, instantaneous anxiety, because I'm like, now I'm going to be faced with poor, like I'll put quote unquote, poor food choices, alcohol, and all of these things that in my mind were going to make me fat, were going to make me gain weight. And now I have to learn how to navigate that. And so it was an instant moment where I'm like, do I go? Do I not go? Do I go enjoy my friends and my family? And it was stressful and it was hard and it made everything difficult because then I just couldn't go and enjoy my time with my friends or my family because I'm just sitting there looking at the food. I'm like, can I eat that? Right. No, I can't eat that. Or what can I eat? Or what can I drink? And it was stressful. It was, and it negatively affected me. And even now working against gravity, I'm learning to navigate those situations. And I still it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be the next month or the next day or whatever. It's going to be a process. I still, when someone's like, okay, let's go to dinner, I have anxiety. I'm like, okay, well, what can I eat at this dinner that I'm not going to kill myself for the next day or I'm not going to dwell on, I'm not going to obsess about. And I think slowly I'm learning that it doesn't have to be like that. I can go and, as one of our friends put on Instagram, Catherine, live in the moment and enjoy your life, and that's kind of what I'm learning to do so far, and it's hard. It's every day,
That's true.
That's a huge focus for me right now because, as I said, I'll be in the gym every day. So my relationship with food and the mental part of losing weight and accepting myself is where I'm at right now, and what I'm really stressing on.
How is your coach? Who is your coach of the WAG?
Hillary Rizzer.
Okay.
Who's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I really like her.
How has she? I wanted to use the right pronoun. I don't know who she is, but how has she helped you overcome the social anxiety that comes with what you're trying to achieve? What kind of tools has she given you? What kind of counsel and advice has she given you about being able to live in the moment and going out and being okay and not sweating bullets when everybody's ordering a round of shots and shit like that?
I think the biggest thing for her that she's taught me, and I mean, I guess I've always known, I just have given into peer pressure too much, is do what makes you happy and do what you're going to be okay with the next day. And I think a lot of the time going out with friends and family, you give into what everyone else is doing because you don't want to be the odd one out. You don't want to be the one that's not drinking or not having the fried chicken or the wings and, whatnot. But I had to look at myself and look at what I actually wanted from myself and what makes me happy. And honestly, yeah, I enjoy champagne here and there. I enjoy a glass of wine, but I'm not a drinker. I don't need to go out with my friends and get hammered to have a good time. I don't need to go out and have 6 or 7 drinks every night. I don't even need to have one. So I've learned that it's okay not to drink just because everyone else is. And at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to regret 1 or 2, 3 or 4 drinks. Right. I'd rather have one drink, feel good about myself, or maybe not even drink because I don't need to. It's not something that I thoroughly enjoy. Food is a little bit different because I'm a little bit of a foodie. I do like to eat. So, I have to pick and choose my battles. Sometimes I'll go to dinner and I'll order the chicken and vegetables or the fish and vegetables. Other times I kind of want a burger, so I'll do that, but I'll prepare for that earlier in the day and I will eat, protein and, good food, healthy, wholesome food in the day and so that I can enjoy myself with my friends. Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing for her. And she's like, just have a plan. If you're going to do this, then you need to compensate in this way, And if you do slip up, don't beat yourself up. It's one day. And my thing was I would slip up and then I would let it downfall and go into 2 or 3 days versus that one meal. And she was like, don't let it coaster into a day or next day, you know, just start over and be okay with it and keep going. And I think those are huge. The other things that she have given me are just like positive thoughts, which is ridiculous to say, but like having the encouragement and the support and inspiration.
It's not crazy.
She just think things positively. I used to be very negative about myself and things that I would think things about myself that I would never in my right mind think about someone else.
Sure.
Right.
Never. And I'm sure a lot of us are like that. We're our own worst critics. But she was like, so if you wouldn't think that about your best friend or an acquaintance or a friend, why would you think it about yourself? And as simple as that is, I'm like, she's right. You know, like I need to start giving myself more credit and believing in myself and my self-worth, which I wasn't doing.
That's true.
Since you've been on the right side of this journey, have your goals become more realistic for you in the sense, because what I see day in and day out in this gym, in my entire personal training and coaching career, is people walk into places like this, they walk into Independence where I got ready for my last bodybuilding competition, and they immediately compare themselves and hold their performance, their aesthetic against those who are better performers or have a completely different set of goals, which dictates how they train and how often they train, how they eat, how often they eat. Are you now able to have those waters cleared for you, and you're able to now create your own goals instead of, well, Nicole does this, I should be able to do that, but you beat yourself up because you're not there yet? You know, are you better about that dynamic of training now?
Yeah, I want to say that, you know, walking into, I think any CrossFit is intimidating. You know, like you said, you see the people that are high performers, like, you know, like I'm just going to throw like Jeremiah, Bobby, Thatcher, that are training for regionals. They're training for competitions, yourself included. And you look at yourself and you're like, oh, well, I want that, you know. Or you look at the, you know, the high performers in our gym for the girls, you know, Jackie, Caitlin, Nicole, you know, all of them. And when I initially started, I'm like, I want to be them. Like, why can't I do that? You know, and that's what I wanted. And I think I think initially that was a big problem for me at CrossFit. I was like, I don't know that I can do this. Like being next to these girls who I want to be, who I'm not, and accepting myself has been a huge challenge. And I think that, yes, like realizing that I'm not Caitlin, I'm not Laura, I'm not Jackie, I'm Jordanna, and I've been here and now I'm here and this is where I want to go. And accepting that is huge. And just knowing that eventually, like, you know, like I set goals for 2016 for CrossFit, one of which was going to Saturdays and Sundays because I was terrified of Saturday and Sunday classes for some reason. You can laugh, but I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't think I could. I really didn't think I could do it. So I was like, no, I'm not going to go. So that was one of my goals. Another one of my goals was pull-ups. I can remember those stupid fit tests in elementary school where you have to do like pull-ups for time. I couldn't do one. I could barely hang on a bar. Yeah. So it's been a lifetime goal that I want to do a pull-up. So I was like, I'm going to work on my pull-ups because that's what I want. The other thing was handstands. I was terrified of being inverted. I've never done a cartwheel in my life, and now they want me to do handstands. So that was one of my goals. And then, of course, freaking dubs, which still kick me. Still whip myself, still hit myself in the head, but still working on it. But those were my goals. And knowing that I could do that, and I just had to ask for help in form, technique, and how to get there, I think it's helped me accept me for me and where I am in the process, you know. And I think it's huge. Like you and the other coaches have always said, you know, trust the process. And it's hard. In the beginning, I was using the 15-pound bar. I had no idea how to snatch, no idea how to clean. I was bicep curling half the time, you know, and just saying, okay, I'm obviously not doing it right, so tell me how to do it, you know. I had multiple conversations with Caitlin about food and, you know, eating, and I would avoid this and I avoid that. And she told me, you know, she's like, I'd rather you just eat. Like, don't worry about what it is as long as you're eating, you know. You know, I had a conversation with Ashley, Catherine, you know, and it's amazing to hear their stories, because when you're going through it, you think you're in it alone.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think that anyone else thinks the things that you think, or is going through the mental stuff that you're going through with food and working out and this and that.
Right.
But I definitely think that now, accepting myself for who I am and that I'm not someone else, I'm able to set realistic goals for myself and hit them.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
I'm not training twice a day and 7 hours a day or whatever it is, but I'm training and I know what I want to be able to accomplish.
Right.
That's huge.
And that's the biggest deal there, is that there is no hierarchy of goals. You know, the guy that wants to go to the Olympics and the girl that just wants to lose a couple of pounds, you know, and their perception of those goals are the same.
Right.
You know, it's a priority. You know what I mean?
Right. 100%.
And at the same time, the guy trying to go to the Olympics isn't looking down on the girl that just wants to lose a couple of pounds. You know, and I think that's a very common misconception and a trap that's extremely easy to fall into in any training environment, let alone a CrossFit gym.
Right.
Where you walk in and you see people that are doing like the advanced gymnastics or lifting out of their minds, and you know, you think it's easy to allow yourself to think that you need to be doing that too.
Right.
When at the end of the day, for example, when people hold themselves against Thatcher, who's training for regionals, you know, but when you sit down with yourself in the dark alone, and the honest truth is you don't want to go to regionals, how is Thatcher even a comparison?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's completely, it defies all logic.
Exactly.
You know, and it's awesome that you've come full circle with that, in that now your goals are indeed your own.
Right.
They're not any more or any less important to anybody else, but they're yours.
Right.
And that's huge.
It's huge. And the mental part of it is huge, and just accepting accepting myself for who I am and not wishing that I was someone else. And that's even bigger.
I mean, there's a very distinguishable difference between the appreciation of getting a 5-pound PR,
right.
or getting that 5-pound PR and being down on yourself because it's not 230.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
PR is a PR, and it's my PR. And I've learned to accept it. In the beginning, I remember seeing people do all, RXing workouts, and I couldn't RX anything. I was like, what the heck? Like, what am I doing wrong? I was terrified to do the open because there's no way that I could do the open. I wouldn't survive. And, you, Connor, Caleb, Caitlin, all talked me into doing it. And I'm glad I did it. I mean, it was fun. It was challenging. I cried. But I also learned a lot about myself, and I think the biggest thing that I need to get over is thinking I can't do something, and knowing that I can, and I repeatedly showed myself that I can. One of the things that I told Bobby that I don't know that if I ever mentioned to anyone else was we were doing a workout one day and it was cleans. And I had stopped counting the weights, counting up the plates, because I was like, I don't want to know, because the number for me is a mental block. Like, get to my PR and I'm like, well, it's too heavy now. I can't do it. But Bobby was working next to me, and he was doing snatches, something else. And I watched him fail like 3 or 4 times, just failed. And I'm like, he just keeps going. Like, he's not giving up. And so every time I did a lift, I would walk away from the bar and I'd watch Bobby miss and go back. And I'm like, you know what? If he's going to go back, I can go back. Like, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is I don't hit it. I fail. Right. And then I go back and do it again. And that day I PR'd by 20 pounds. And it was crazy. And I told him, I was like, I don't know that I would have kept going if I wasn't standing next to Bobby, who is 100% out of my league fitness-wise, but his mentality and it just motivated me. And I'm like, well, I'm going to keep going, until I fail.
That's so awesome.
And that's the one thing about CrossFit that I don't think you get anywhere else, the environment and the community.
That's interesting. Really interesting. Well, I find I may be off base, but I think women have it a lot harder than guys when it comes to, body image and things like that, because you open any social platform, I don't care what it is. You're slammed with articles of this is how you should look. This is the butt of the year. This is the body of the year.
And how to get that butt.
And how to get that. And if you don't have that, well, ladies, you're not on the right path. And it's interesting because I love social media. I study it like ins and outs. But you open like a Snapchat, for instance, and the articles from Cosmo, and you think the girls that are reading this are 13-year-old girls, and they're already being brainwashed into what a woman is supposed to be, how is a woman supposed to look, how she's supposed to eat and act to be a woman, you know? And I think that's where all this it starts. And I know I'm not saying that could be you or anything, but have you found that is when it comes to like looking at yourself in the body, have you found yourself relating your body image to comparing your body image to somebody else's who may have the ideal body that you were looking for? And how has that changed now to where you become more appreciative and like happy with who you are as a person? Like you don't compare yourself as much to anybody, it sounds like, anymore. You just say, I'm Jordanna, and you're thankful and proud of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right when it comes to social media. I'm not saying that guys don't have it as bad as, or don't have it bad with social media and, you know, magazines and television and actors and actresses and everything, but I think that it plays a bigger role on females because of what we should look like and how we should dress, and, you know, you should be eating this, you should be doing this to get that, and, you know, I fed into it 100%. And I let it affect myself, my relationships with people, and, you know, I blamed my weight for everything. You know, like I was like, well, this didn't happen because I'm too heavy, or I didn't do this because I'm too heavy. I don't have a boyfriend because I'm too heavy and I'm unattractive, you know. And I think that going through this journey of weight loss and my relationship with food and, you know, really looking at everything, yeah, I still look at, you know, a girl that has the physique that I want, and I'm still like, oh, I want to get there. But I don't beat myself up to the point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm never going to get there. I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm this and that. I know that I am who I am. And, you know, if I could work out for 17 hours a day, have a nutritionist, and I could look like that too. But I don't. I work full time, and I work out an hour a day or whatever it is, and I am who I am. I'm going to reach my goals. It might be a slower, longer process, but I don't need to look like the supermodels or the actresses to be happy with myself. And that's not my goal. It's not my life anymore. Right. You know,
and
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's always going to be that, oh man, I wish I had her legs. I wish I had her butt or her arms, but I know where I am and I'm okay with that.
Right. And you know what's so interesting? I mean, a lot of people don't say it, or you may not hear it yourself, but a girl could look at you and she could be where you were and look at your body now, and she aspires to look exactly how you look at this current moment.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people realize like where your journey has brought you. You put yourself at a point where now you're a role model to other women who have been in that journey. You know what I mean? Because they can say, I aspire to look like Jordanna. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's powerful when you start thinking about that.
Sure.
It definitely is. And, you know, like you said that, and I don't look at myself like that, you know, so I don't even, it doesn't cross my mind. Like, I don't look in the mirror and think, okay, well, I've lost 50 pounds. I can inspire other people, because I feel like my journey is still going.
Right.
You know, but I have had, you know, someone in the gym actually come up and she's like, oh, you look great. You know, like, I wish that I looked like you. Right. And for me, like, that was a great day for me, because never in my life had I ever thought that. You know, when I had surgery on my ankle, I was getting anesthesia, and my anesthesiologist, we were talking, and she was like, we were talking about the dosage, and she's like, well, you're small, so you don't need that. And I was like, what? Did you just say I'm small?
Yeah.
It was like a shock to me, because I don't look at it like that, you know. But, you know, coming to CrossFit and talking to the girls here, and even the guys, you know, everyone's on their own journey, and you don't know what other people are thinking or what they're going through mentally. You know, you never would have known that some of the girls here that I would say are perfect also think about food the way that I do, also have the relationship with food that I do, that have the mental, you know, problems and relationships, and they think about it and get anxiety going to, you know, social events. And I would never think that, because in my eyes, I think they're perfect. And I'm like, I want to be them, you know? So it's just, it's very eye-opening. It's a good environment to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to have the positive network where you can sort of have that support system, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it helps build you up as a person. You start looking at yourself as, wow, I didn't know I'm making that much of an impact. Whether you know it or not, you're making a huge impact. And
I think that's the other thing with females. I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware of this. Girls can be a bit on the catty side.
No.
Really? For real? Yo, that's in the show notes right there.
But I think that, you know, in itself, like, girls don't build each other up enough.
No.
And they don't, you know, when I see a girl and I like her boots, I tell her, I'm like, your boots are awesome. I love them. Where'd you get them? You know, make an effort to make those compliments and tell girls, even if I don't know them, because I don't think that women in general do that enough.
Yeah.
You know, girls are instant competition with each other. Like, which guy's going to notice me? He's going to notice me over you or whatnot. And I don't think, like, that's not the life that I want to be in. And I tend to try to build other people up versus, you know, build them down. I've luckily not been treated poorly too many times for my weight, or been, you know, I've had really good friends. But those moments where you do have someone say something to you that's, you know, negative, you'll never forget it, ever. You know, I remember it was my first year in grad school. I used to get migraines all the time, so I was seeing a neurologist, and the weight was always brought up, you know, which I understand, you know, and that, you know, saying you need to lose weight, it'll help you, this and that. And this doctor in particular said, you know, if not for your health, you know, if you're ever going to get married, you're not going to get married at that weight.
What a douchebag.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember that day so well. And I cried. I held it together in front of him, and I walked out. And I was hysterically crying. I called my sister. But there are people in this world that will say that kind of stuff and will beat you down. And I think for me, that's more of a drive. Like, I'm going to show you. I'm a pretty stubborn person. So you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, oh, I'm going to show you. I can. But so I tend to be positive and try to build people up, and I think that's huge with anybody going through anything, because you don't know what they're going through. So maybe they need to hear that one thing, or that they look good that day, or you like this about them, or man, look at your pull-ups, or whatever it is. Like, I think that's, like, we don't hear it, we don't compliment each other enough, and I think that's really important.
Sure. How vocal are you about your story now?
I'm not. There are a handful of people that I talk about with my weight, and in the past it was instant tears when I would talk about it. You know, I joke about it now, and I can, you know, say I was a fat kid, but it's real. You know, like I went through a time where it wasn't mentioned, it wasn't talked about, because I would cry. It was just so emotional that I couldn't do it. And even now, like, I'm sweating talking about it. I'm like, I need to take my sweatshirt off because I'm sweating. And we talked about this before when I showed you that picture.
Right.
That picture of me in college, I'm not the same person. And I used to, and I'm still learning, like, I don't want to say that it's gone completely. I used to look at that picture and be ashamed. You know, like, I'm going through pictures right now because my girlfriend from high school is getting married next year, and we're trying to put a collage together. And I came across all these photos from high school and college, and it was when I was my heaviest, and I'm like shocked just looking at these pictures because I don't look the same. Yeah. And it takes a lot to fight that shame feeling, because who wants to say that they were once over 200 pounds, right? You know, and accepting that and moving on and all that comes with it. It's hard, you know, and I look at those pictures, and it's a good reminder of where I've been. So the days that I'm having off days, or I'm having a bad workout, or I don't feel like working out, it's good motivation to think about that and go forward. But it's hard. It's hard to talk about and let people that I assume love me for everything and that I am, good, bad, and ugly, for them to see those pictures or know that that's my past. Yeah. It scares me. It's hard. It's hard.
Well, I can tell you, being over 200 pounds and doing CrossFit, it's not awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I live that life every day.
Well, it's funny when we do like stuff where we're like, you have to hold a 25-pound kettlebell and like do a step up. I'm like, I used to be a lot heavier than this. This is hard. Why is this so hard?
It makes me so angry when people tell me about my burpee face. I didn't even know that was a thing until they opened.
Really?
They're just like, bro, you look so fucking miserable.
Bro, you were like crawling off the floor. That was not a burpee.
I wasn't there. I didn't see what happened.
Crawl up, step over the bar.
Crawl down.
Pray that gravity slows down a little bit.
Oh, my Lord.
No, but do you remember what I told you about that picture?
Remind me.
I said, instead of being ashamed of that picture, you should be proud of that picture.
You're right.
Because if nothing else provides evidence of how far you've come, it's pictures like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And instead of, I'm not saying that you need to go the before and after, Instagram route by any means, but for you, if nothing else, that should make you appreciate your journey that much more. I don't think there's anything out there that could provide any more internal motivation than that.
Yeah.
You know, and not in the negative sense.
No, not
that
at all.
I don't ever want to be there again, but holy shit, who I am now is a direct reflection of the progress that I've not only made physically, but as a person.
Right. No, I agree 100%. I mean, eventually I'll get to that point. This was huge for me, doing a podcast talking about my weight and the mental side of it. Because, I mean, everyone can see an old picture and see that you were overweight, but knowing the mental processes that people go through, you know, and I've never been diagnosed with an eating disorder. I've never talked to anyone about it as far as like a professional, but in some sense I know that I have one,
Sure.
you know, and that part of it, unless you've been there, it's really hard to understand how to get through. And people are like, well, just don't do it. Don't do this. Or do this. And it's not that easy. You know, it's a everyday process. And even, you know, I think I mentioned this to you before. This is the first holiday season where I haven't gained weight.
You told me that.
And the very first. And I'm shocked at that's even possible. But now, and you know, I had dessert on Thanksgiving.
You enjoyed yourself.
I enjoyed myself. I ate a lot on Christmas Eve, you know, but it's honestly the first time that I've actually been comfortable through the holidays, and that I'm not beating myself up because I'm drinking or I'm eating this or I'm doing that. I'm enjoying myself.
That's so awesome.
And I haven't gained weight, which is like amazing. And that's the other thing, is getting over the number on the scale. That's a whole other process. And learning to just accept that my clothes are fitting and, you know, my muscle mass is different. And, you know, because even now I'm still 12 pounds heavier than I was when I lived in New York.
Right.
But my clothes fit. You know, like it's not that my clothes are too tight, nothing fits. I mean, my shoulders are a little bigger, but but my clothes fit. And getting over that number, knowing that I'm still making progress and meeting my goals, that number is not a reflection of that. You know.
What are your goals for 2017?
Oh no! Wow. You know, I was like thinking about this a lot because I'm like, I don't know what it is yet. I think it's just to continue on the path of mental healthiness and working on me. I think, because I think for so long I've let my weight control everything about my life. If a relationship didn't work out, I always was like, why? Well, what's wrong with me? Is it because I'm not skinny enough? Is it because I'm not smart enough? Is it because I don't do enough? Is it this? And I want to stop focusing so much on what I feel like are why I'm like, what are my failures? You know, I want to focus on things that I want to do for myself, you know, and one of that is, you know, still continue my relationship with food and healthy living, but also do the things that I've always thought that I couldn't do because I was overweight or I couldn't do this, you know, like I want to start hiking more. I used to hike all the time in like college and I stopped doing it, and I haven't done it because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go by myself, or, you know, be in that fear, you know, and I want to start doing that. I want to start cooking more. But as far as like fitness, you know, there's so many things in CrossFit that I want to do. You know, strict handstand push-ups, strict pull-ups, because I can do the kipping pull-ups. I still want to do strict.
Yeah, sure.
And so those are all like just strength and getting better at that kind of stuff. I still have to think about it. I don't know.
It's all good stuff.
That is a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. I didn't know the list was going to be that long.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's good.
I was like just talking. I'm like, I'm nervous. Just keep talking.
No dead space. No dead space. No dead space. No, you know, congratulations on all of that. And you know, from us to you, you have a story that needs to be told. You've been through it. You've seen it all the way through, and you know, on a personal level, you still have, you know, so much further to go for yourself. But you know, in telling the story, the more that you tell it, the more that you appreciate the journey. Right. So it's not only healthy for those that hear it, it's good for you too.
Yeah.
You know, because it just simply verbalizing it and putting it out there in the universe, there's an accountability that comes with that, but also an appreciation, and that's probably the biggest thing that keeps you going. Right. You know, and versus looking down on yourself for what you used to be, it's like you start to appreciate who you are. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, when you first asked me, I was like, there's no way that I can do that. there's just no way, because like I said, there's maybe a handful of people that I've talked to about my weight and about my struggle with food, and that I feel comfortable talking to about that, and even in the gym, you're probably one of the only, you and probably Caitlin are the only coaches that I think I've mentioned how big I was in the past, or that relationship with food and how hard that is. It took me, I have probably three people that I consider my best friends. My sister's one of them. My sister I can call and, tell her the world. And, at the end of the day, I know she's still going to love me. She's not going to care, and the people that haven't seen my past, I'm afraid to show my past.
Right.
And I think that's been a big thing for me in coming to PHX, talking with you, talking with Caitlin and Caleb. And it's big, like I told my sister, I was like, should I do this? And she was like, I 100% think you should do it. It's good for you. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, everyone's going to know now. And she was like, Jordanna, you are who you are, though. Yeah. And it's the same thing, you're your own worst critic. You don't see what everyone sees. And, my sister could praise me for a year and I'd still wouldn't believe everything she said, because I'm like, you're my sister. You have to say that. Right. Or you're my best friend. You have to say that, But learning to accept that and being able to talk about it is huge. Yeah. And, knowing that other people are going through the same things. If I can help them, I want to help them. Sure. No,
absolutely.
Yeah. Whenever you come around to tell them that story, you'll know the right time, because it's something, once you discover the power in your struggle, that's where like the juice is. That's where the value that you can create. Because not only do you help people in your job, with your story is going to help the world, because that's something that a lot of people are going through and then are, have gone through. Right. So just seeing it from a person like of strength that you have, man, when you let that message out there, you're going to impact a lot of people more than you know, seriously.
That's crazy. You just don't look at yourself like that, at all.
But that's the thing. I think a lot of times people think the celebrity role, or the people who define the word, I guess you would say, like they're the ones who have to get their word out there. But there's nothing that puts them over Jordanna. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because you're just as powerful as anybody in the world, even more powerful. That's why I always think of myself like I'm the most powerful man in the world, and that's sort of the mindset that you have to tell yourself.
Totally.
Your word matters just as much as anybody. So when you let your story out there, you're going to touch a lot of people's lives, seriously. Because just hearing it now, it's like, that impacted me, seriously. That's a really good story.
It's so funny that you say that, because I want to say this is probably like 6-7 months ago, maybe longer than that. But my best friend, who I've mentioned before, she does CrossFit. She's in New York. She's one of the people that I'm like, oh, I want to do CrossFit, because she was doing it. But we were both talking because we were kind of not happy with our jobs and our situations. And we were like, well, what can we do like to satisfy ourselves outside of work? And we're both obsessed with CrossFit. We both go all the time, and we're in a group chat with a bunch of CrossFitters, and we're obnoxious. And so we were talking about it. She's like, well, I think that at some point, like, I want to become actively involved in the fitness world. And she started doing a blog. She's an amazing writer. Like, she just has a way with words. And so she started a fitness blog where she's writing about her workouts and her food preps, and she's doing paleo. Not completely strict, but she's doing paleo. So she does that and, whatnot. And when I was talking to her, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing some nutrition classes or, something just to better myself and just have a better knowledge base. And she was like, you should like possibly get into training or like talking about your journey. And I literally laughed at her, and I was like, why? And she was like, because you're super inspiring. Yeah. And I didn't even think about that. Like, it never crossed my mind. She's like, Jordanna, to see like where you've come. She knew me when I had first started working out. Like, we've been friends since 2008. So that was when I was starting. 2006. So it was when I was starting perfusion school. Yeah. So it was really when I started to like work out or whatever. And she was like, to see where you were and where you've come. She's like, you have no idea how many girls you can relate to. Oh yeah. And I just never thought about it. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, maybe. And then, fast forward to, a week ago when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, all right, I guess I have to do this.
Yeah. I mean, just think about the power in, your first day. Step-ups were exhausting. Yeah. Now you're doing handstand push-ups. Now you're doing pull-ups. Now you're front squatting and crushing workouts left and right. There's something to be said for that process. But like you said, it started in 2006. We're at the end of 2016. Yeah. It's one day at a time.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
one day at a time.
One workout at a time, and you know the consistency of this decade-long journey that you've been on is something I just want to make sure that we touch on, because there are definitely days you don't feel like being there. You know, there's days that you get sick or you fall off the wagon or you have every excuse in the world not to come, but you still show up.
Yeah.
You know, because it's that important to you.
Yeah, everyone has a journey, a reason, what they're doing, what they're doing. You know, like I said, I probably started for the wrong reasons as far as being in my friend's wedding. But along my journey, you know, I also think about my family. You know, my dad's had 2 heart attacks. My uncle had a massive heart attack, an aortic aneurysm, and we have high blood pressure, everyone in my family, diabetes runs in my family. And at the end of the day, you know, evaluating all that, I don't want all of that. You know, I don't want to have to be on blood pressure medication. I don't want to have to worry about having a heart attack or getting diabetes or any of that. So along with my friend's wedding, like the other stuff came along with the process. You know, I don't want to be unhealthy. You know, I want to be able to run around my sister's house with 4 nieces and nephews and not be out of breath.
Right.
You know, and I think that's huge, and everyone has a reason for doing that, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
And that's something that you must realize, you know, that it's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. Those days that you don't want to come, those are usually the days you should go. Right. You know, and even, you know, you had written something about, should I work out every day? And everyone's always like, oh, you need to rest. You need to rest. Sure. But I really work out every day. Are there days that I don't give 150% because I scale it back a little bit because I'm tired? Sure. There's days that I come just to go through the motions to get myself moving and I'm, you know, doing something. But I think it's important because it's part of my goals. You know, whether every workout is stellar is not the point. It's that I'm getting in, I'm doing it, and I'm setting goals and crushing them. Well, hoping crush them.
I'd say crush is the appropriate word.
Yeah, but that's cool. Like, it's cool that you're setting up your legacy, because just from when you're mentioning like the generation of blood pressure and, you know, all those like diabetes, and those things are passed down from generation to generation. So maybe your grandparents, to your parents, then to you, and like it stops at you. And that's the power that now from your kids and your nieces and nephews, they're going to see you changed your family history, the course of, you know, all those those ailments, and you created, you know, a healthy lifestyle. And that's a long lasting legacy. Even after you're gone, I think you changed the trajectory of your family's life and history. So that's very impressive.
Thanks.
You're a rock star.
Thanks.
Whether you want to believe it or not.
I think I'm blushing. Am I red?
A little bit.
I feel like I'm red.
No, that's so awesome, and you know, we're super appreciative of you taking the time to tell your story, because we know what a big deal that is for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we're just super appreciative of you opening up and, you know, being genuine and authentic about it. That's a rare characteristic.
Yeah.
You know, but before we get out of here, 2 questions.
Oh no. Okay.
You've listened enough to the show. You know I'm going to ask you.
Actually, I was like, oh no, should I know this?
You answer on any level.
Okay.
But what's one thing that you do every single day to feed yourself, to get the ball rolling, get the motivation mojo going? And then what's something that you do each and every day to keep them to fuel yourself, to keep the ball rolling and keep you moving in that positive direction?
This is going to sound ridiculous, so don't laugh too hard. But I think that for me, the biggest thing is positivity versus negativity. I, in the past, and even until recently, was very negative about myself in every aspect. The reasons that I'm still single, or the reasons that I'm still have a spare tire, or this or that, I would always focus on the negative. And I think that part of the process of being at CrossFit and joining WAG is not focusing on the negative and focusing on the positive. So one of the exercises that I was given by my coach was to, when I get on the scale, because that number drives me crazy, was to stand in front of it and say 3 things that I'm happy about, or that are giving me motivation, or that fuel my journey, you know. And, you know, some of those have been like PR'd my snatch, you know, or my clothes fit. Jeans that I haven't worn in 2 years fit me and they're loose, just stuff like that, just to be positive, or, like my hair looks good today, or, whatever it is, just something positive to say about myself and my life in general. And so every morning I do that, whether it's looking in the mirror or before I get on the scale. It's just to think positively about where I am, who I am, and where I'm going. So that's just something that I do for myself. And then as far...
How do you keep it going?
I think that being in the moment and being present in my life and not spending every moment thinking about what I'm going to eat today or when I'm going to get to the gym, and that whole thing is just retraining myself and thinking. And part of that is I'm reading a lot more books right now, motivational books.
Ooh, what are you reading?
Daring Greatly right now.
Oh, so good.
Which is amazing because it's not only about like living your life to your fullest, but it's about being vulnerable and not letting the vulnerability control your life and learning to live with it and not see it as a weakness, which is huge, and this right now is me being vulnerable because people don't see that side of me. I don't let a lot of people in my life and see that the, emotional wreck of, food and anxiety and stress, and that people don't know that. So I think like those books are, as simple as they are, they're huge. And, one of the other books that I'm kind of in the middle of reading, and I started reading Daring Greatly in the middle of it, was Binge Over Brain.
Okay.
Which is about a recovering bulimic and how she got over her binges and eating normally and without therapy, her journey through it. So those are just things that I find, because that's right now really what I'm focusing on is my emotional and mental state and relationship with food and being okay with that stuff.
Awesome.
Nice. And where can the community support and follow anything you have going, whether it's personally in life or anywhere or any process of your journey? Where can they follow and support you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I guess those are the only two, really.
Those only two?
Yeah.
Cool.
What's your handle?
My handle?
Your screen name.
Oh. Yeah. I was like, what?
Is that a word anymore?
Yeah, it's handle.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Jordanna, and then, what is that? It's like dash Michelle, but it's not the dash. Underscore.
Okay.
So Jordanna, Jordanna _ Michelle, Michelle. And then Facebook's just Jordanna Newberger.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jordanna.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, everybody out there in cyberspace, thanks for allowing us to be a part of your journey, as we are ever appreciative of you joining us on ours. And we really appreciate you being vulnerable with us today, Jordanna.
Thank you.
Make sure you follow her on those social media platforms and support her in her journey, and she'll no doubt reciprocate that. And if there's any parts of her journey, her story that resonate with you, there's a support system there, and make sure that you reach out and reciprocate that experience. And until next time, keep exposing that elephant. Feed me, feel me, guys. Later.
Peace. And that'll do it for this episode with our special guest, Jordanna Newberger. If you want to see everything Jordanna has going on and want to support her, please go check out the full show notes on feedmefuelme.com. Also, be sure to connect with us on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at feedmefuelme. We would love to hear from each and every one of you. We're excited to announce the Feed Me Fuel Me Summit on July 10th, 2017 in Sedona, Arizona. Our keynote speaker will be Forrest Lustos. If you haven't had a chance to hear Forrest's story yet, be sure to listen to his episode number 19, Mastering the Superficial and Becoming Exceptional. It's guaranteed to fire you up and make you take action. We've released event details on the website and will continue to update them in the coming weeks as the event nears closer. Be sure to go to the website, feedmefuelme.com, click on the link, 2017 Summit, purchase your ticket, and we'll see you there. If you found this episode inspiring in any way, please rate, comment, share, and subscribe so we can continue on this journey together. Also, be sure to share it with your friends and family on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter, or any other social platforms that you use. We really appreciate you spending your time with us today and allowing us to join you on your journey. We would love to hear your feedback on this episode, as well as guests and topics for future episodes. To end this episode, we would love to leave you with a quote by Christian Larson. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.